We now know the exact date and time for the Miami Hurricanes football opener against Notre Dame, the national runners-up. And will the Fighting Irish be at a weakened state compared to what they just had?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Because the perception based on the last couple of days is that it's chaos in South Bend. They're losing everybody to the transfer portal. Does reality line up with that? I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. On this loaded episode of Locked On Canes, we're going to talk about the early returns on standout young players who are turning heads in workouts. Workouts have started over the past couple of weeks at the U. We'll talk about Miami's depth heading into this upcoming year. We'll talk about why one of the biggest names in coaching allegedly has Miami tabbed as his dream job. But let's talk about Miami versus Notre Dame. And folks, so happy to bring in the truth teller, Bruce Warner. Truth teller, I keep seeing all the headlines. Notre Dame, they're losing all their offensive linemen. They lost our old friend Al Golden, their star defensive coordinator. He's going to the Cincinnati Bengals to become their DC. Do you feel like the sky is falling up there in South Bend?
Well, since I am the truth teller, I guess I'll give you my real opinion. I really couldn't care less. I don't care. I couldn't care less. I don't care what happens at Notre Dame. It's not what you wanted me to say, but I don't really care. I don't care about Golden. He had his shot down here. Had he coached the defense like he's coaching Notre Dame and gotten rid of his stupid friend, not that he's stupid, but it just he might still be here. And I'm serious.
Right?
I thought the offense was pretty good. They were in a lot of big games, and they blew it because the defense was a joke. They played defense like they were playing in the 1940s. So, so my answer to that, I don't care about Notre Dame. I care about the game. August 31st, obviously. They're going to come in here as like runner-ups for the national championship. We played them down here in 2017 and wiped the field up with them. I don't think that's going to happen again. But last year we had Florida on the road and the swamp and this and that. We blew them out. So am I concerned about Notre Dame? Not really. I'm concerned about Miami. As long as Miami is improved, I'm not worried about them or Florida or anybody else. We have to take care of ourselves. And last season was all one-sided. The offense was great and the defense was atrocious. So you can call me out on that. Whatever coaches on the staff are listening, I don't care. It was atrocious and you know it. Don't sugarcoat it.
And listen, they're doing what they can to make sure it's not atrocious this year. So, so the Game Time was officially announced on Thursday, Bruce. We got word because we knew that would be the week 1 matchup, but it's happening on a Sunday night in prime time, August 31st, 7:30 p.m. One of our Locked On Canes insiders asked me, what do you think about that game being on a Sunday? And my answer was, that's going to give the media an opportunity on the Lord's Day to really hype up the whole Catholics versus convicts thing again. That's going to give them a lot of material since that game is happening on a Sunday. But as far as, and Bruce, I actually, you mentioned you don't really care about Notre Dame, and I respect that because, listen, it's early in the offseason. We're worried about Miami. I do think, though, that a lot of this, like, hysteria around all the guys leaving Notre Dame, I think it's very overblown. Now, for one thing, team just played for a national championship. So you're condensing their transfer portal window into 5 days after that game. So anybody who wanted to leave, who stayed together through the national championship, suddenly they all had 5 days to hit the portal. So it was a very condensed period for them. Maybe I hope losing Al Golden is a big loss for them. One of the most respected defensive coordinators in the country for the past few years. So they lose him. They're obviously losing their quarterback, Riley Leonard, who's out of eligibility. Steve Angeli, who may be the starter next year, is a good quarterback. But in terms of the offensive line stuff, Bruce, and I leaned heavily on our colleague Tyler Wojcik from Locked On Irish, who covers Notre Dame. And, he noted on his show this week that Notre Dame, first of all, on paper, has a really, really deep offensive line. Remember, they had a lot of injuries this past year. So,
They always have, and they always will.
Sure, so. Absolutely. That's an offensive line factory. And they are losing at least 3 guys from that O-line who started a number of games last year, including, Rocco Spindler and Pat Coogan, both started in the national championship game. They're also losing Sam Pendleton, but Wojcik noted that none of those 3 were guaranteed starting spots or even likely starters for next year. So these are depth pieces who are leaving Notre Dame's offensive line. And if Miami were playing Notre Dame maybe week 10 instead of week 1, that's a point in the season where you might need those depth pieces. But Bruce, I would imagine Notre Dame's offensive line is going to be as healthy as they are all season in that first game. So I don't think them losing 3 probably backup offensive linemen is going to have any effect on our game whatsoever. Notre Dame are still their early 3-point favorites against Miami in that one, understandably coming off a national championship game appearance. On the Miami side of it, Bruce, because I know that's what you and I really want to talk about. Man, this is going to be the debut for so many new Hurricanes players, including the debut for Carson Beck. That's going to be our first. We won't even have a spring game with Carson Beck. Right. That's going to be our first time watching Beck suit up as the Miami Hurricanes quarterback.
Yeah, but going back to your point about Notre Dame's offensive line, we brought in a new defensive coordinator who has promised us that our front 4 or front 7 is going to be very aggressive. That's what I want to see. If you were talking about Notre Dame's offensive line traditionally against last year's our defensive line, would that be ugly? But we're looking at a different head, a defensive coordinator with a different scheme, a different attitude, a different approach. Now, do I think we have enough? I think we have enough talent on our D-line. I don't know how proven it is. We still haven't seen much from Justin Scott. We haven't seen this Blake kid. He just transferred in here. Moten had a good year last year, but, again, we don't know. We don't know where Bain's going to be. We believe Messidor's coming back to play on the edge. So, yeah, we have some pieces, but they have to gel. Now, again, our first game last year, we destroyed Florida. We had a lot of time to get ready for them. Notre Dame is not necessarily a multi-dimensional offense. They have the traditional power running game, and I don't know who their receivers are, but again, I don't really care.
They got the guy Great House who played well in the CFP. He's going to be back for them next year. He played well.
Yeah, he's good. But again, it's all about us. It's never been about the other team. It's about us. And we have new secondary people. Have they played one down together as a unit? No. So there's a lot that has to happen between now and then. Would I be surprised if we beat them? No, not in the least. Because I think that stadium's going to be jacked. We just have to have a better scheme. We can't have all these missed tackles and overrun plays and guys not even anywhere near the receivers that we saw last year. I'm expecting a lot better. To what extent, I don't know. But I'm expecting us to be a lot better on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think in the defensive secondary, there's going to be a lot of new pieces, of course. I think Xavier Lucas, and of course, there's a reason why we practice and why we have spring games and stuff. We'll find out, but I feel like he's going to end up being a starter. Lucas here. I think there's a lot of hype with his transfer to Miami. I think Zechariah Poyser is going to end up being a starting safety with Zaquan Patterson probably holding down the other side. I'm curious to see who ends up being, the starter at nickel. If it could be Charles Brantley who comes in, could it be Damari Brown, or will Damari Brown be like a backup on the boundary? But I think the defensive secondary is going to look completely different. Going back to the offense, though, in addition to the question of, how is Carson Beck going to mesh with Miami, because he's going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball since he's not completely healthy right now. He is going to be healthy by then, of course. But Bruce, if you look at Miami's wide receiver room, that's one of the bigger question marks this year. Because you've got right now 8 scholarship receivers, and 5 out of those 8 are true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. The only exceptions to that, the only guys with theoretically, a year already under their belt, JoJo Trader, I think technically played enough to be considered a sophomore, but didn't play a whole lot.
Right.
Nathaniel Ray Joseph is a sophomore, hasn't played a whole lot. And, CJ Daniels, that's the experienced guy who just transferred in. So he's not played with the team before. There's a lot of young guys with a lot of upside, but there's not a whole lot of proven reps in that receiver room.
Or the tight end room, Alex.
Yeah.
Lofton played in every game last year, but he really didn't get that many balls thrown to him. He didn't really run out of the backfield like we saw all spring. Look, the offense is a work, in progress. Because of Beck, I think it'll be a lot better than we thought. I can't even imagine if we didn't get him. We're sitting here talking about Emory Williams as the potential starter after what we just saw. So, look, it's a lot to gather together as a unit and be cohesive on both sides of the ball. I still beg whoever, I don't even know who the hell it is, our special teams. I'd like to see a block punt. I'd like to see us return the ball to midfield or a punt return where the guy actually escapes rather than takes fair catches or gets destroyed. Let's get up the field a little bit. Let's make something happen. That's what we used to do all the time. That's what Dabo's good at. He's the return game in his special teams. We got to be better. Yeah, we have a good punter, a good kicker, whatever, but there's other phases. Jimmy Johnson used to hate to lose on special teams. So, and I think he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think Jimmy knew a thing or two. Now, Jimmy, of course, was a legendary name that coached at the University of Miami. When we come back, not only will we talk about other position groups that we think are question marks, but speaking of legendary coaches, Bruce, why is Coach Prime being linked on social media to the Miami Hurricanes? You want to keep it locked right here. We're
because
only
if he
started.
burps, they put it on TV.
We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. I'm keeping it locked with Game Time. Game Time is the only ticket service that I use. Guys, the Game Time app makes it so easy, so affordable. You're getting the best deals and the best features on tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, musical theaters, and attending NFL playoff games. That's an experience like no other. You got the conference championships coming up, the energy, the excitement, the connection with other fans. It's absolutely unmatched. And folks, this year, Game Time makes it even easier to create those unforgettable moments with their new feature, Game Time Picks. It filters out all the fluff to show you only the best deals on great seats so you can focus on what matters, being there. I use Game Time Picks to grab tickets for an upcoming concert, guys. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. You'll love some of the other features, folks, like the panoramic views from your seats, the price guarantee, lowest price guarantee on Game Time. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Bruce, I didn't really want to talk about this today, but I got a question about Deion Sanders from one of our Locked On Canes.
Deion Sanders. He's controlling the NFL draft. He's controlling Colorado.
Yeah.
Now, this is supposed to be his dream job. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. So I was watching this, and it wasn't even like Deion has not said anything about this. It's other people speaking for him. Like I was watching Uncle Luke Luther Campbell, an interview clip with Streeter from Caneville, who said, "Hey, Deion Sanders' dream job is actually to coach at the University of Miami." There was a separate clip of Chris Carter, the former NFL receiver. I don't know if he's tight with Deion or if he's just speculating, who said that Deion Sanders' dream job is the University of Miami. But listen, my first thought is this is the last thing I want to talk about or even think about when I'm rooting for Mario Cristobal to be the guy to get this right. I'm bullish on the team heading into next season. I know people complain about Cristobal for certain stuff, but I love the acquisitions he's made talent-wise. I like the way the coaching staff is coming together. So, the last thing I want to talk about is some hypothetical about who could take over for him if he fails or whatever. And then the other part of it, Bruce, is how come multiple people, this is just odd to me, multiple people refer to Miami as Deion Sanders' dream job why not Florida State where he actually played? Like that's really odd. I mean, we know Deion loves all these former Miami guys, but why is he not interested in coaching at his alma mater?
Well, first of all, since I'm going to put my attorney hat on, what makes you think it's true? Second of all, he's not coming here anyway. And third of all, since I'm your lawyer, so to speak,
you're my lawyer.
Why are you talking about it if you don't want to talk about it? Just forget about it. Who cares about Deion Sanders?
That's fair.
Right? Why don't we I asked before the show, I said, why don't we ask our listeners and viewers what they think so far of what Mario has done in the offseason? Are you happy with what he's done? Are you unhappy with what he's doing? Or you're like, oblivious, whatever, nothing, it means nothing. Let's see what happens on the field. So that's what I want to throw out to our viewers and listeners. What do you think of what's happened so far? Do you have an opinion on this? Let's assume that Carson Beck is going to be healthy, because I know that's the $64,000 question or the $4 million question. What's his status going to be come August 31st? I'm assuming that based on what the money he got, that every Miami doctor, including a gynecologist, probably did an examination of this guy to find out where he is injury-wise. You have to. You just can't let this guy come in, give him all that money, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure he's probably going to be fine. So I'm assuming that. I think we've done a pretty damn good job so far. And I know you have some people that you need another receiver with some experience, right? Maybe another D lineman or so. Look,
maybe another linebacker. That's something people talk about.
Maybe another blocking or a big running back, because other than here we go with Mark Fletcher. We don't really have much size back there. Although I know Lyle's not that small, but still, another running back would be nice, just in case somebody gets hurt.
Well, first of all, I love how my attorney wisely steered me away from the Coach Prime thing. We don't need to spend
These people don't want to talk about Prime. Come on.
My lawyer here wisely steered me away from that. In terms of okay, here's another thing that people aren't talking about enough in terms of Miami's transfer portal so far. And I know the portal's going to be open again in April. We'll see what happens. But Bruce, I'm really appreciative that with all of the January departures, I would say the only Miami loss that I'm really upset about was Isaiah Horton. Like that was the only meaningful exit from Miami. Any of the other guys who left had either been disappointing or unproven to this point in their Miami careers. Like Isaiah Horton, I thought was the only truly meaningful loss that Miami had, which is good compared to a lot of other programs out there losing good players. I thought Miami's retention, they did really well in terms of what they've brought in.
I think Riley Williams is somebody that could have been really good. We didn't really see it, but he could have been.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That was one of, Riley Williams, you guys know I like him. We all love just the possibilities of what Chris Johnson could have become. And maybe he'll reach that at SMU as, Brashard Smith did. Maybe he won't, but he hadn't reached it yet here. In terms of what Miami's brought in, I can't emphasize this enough. I think Cristobal and company, they were as aggressive or even more aggressive as I thought they needed to be in addressing the defensive secondary, which was the biggest weakness from last year. Yes. I mean, they brought in 5 new defensive backs, 4 cornerbacks so far, and a safety, including, Xavier, especially like Xavier Lucas was a huge get. And obviously it was very complicated. We talked to Darren Heitner earlier this week, how complicated it was just to get him here. Zechariah Poyser, I know he comes from the FCS level, so he's got something to prove, but he grades out very well. A lot of big programs wanted him. I think Brantley and O'Connor show a lot of promise, and Carnley has some potential. He's young and a little bit raw, but I thought Miami did a great job transforming their defensive back room, especially. And then listen, you talk about the question marks around Carson Beck's recovery. My understanding is he's on or even ahead of schedule recovering from that surgery. So I think he's going to be fine before fall camp, I would imagine, which, fall camp starts in the summer. And in adding Carson Beck, who ended up being the number 1 rated transfer in the entire portal, I mean, you couldn't have done a better job filling that need. You losing Cam Ward, you couldn't have possibly done a better job than Carson Beck. And listen, the other guy that I wanted, Quinn Ewers, he decided to go pro. So there was nothing you could have done there. You got the best possible option in the portal, and he brings a ton of experience into this thing. So, listen, I'm tired of winning off seasons and not winning in the regular season, but I think Miami's winning another off season, Bruce.
Yeah, well, I knew you wanted Mateer, but he went straight to Oklahoma. That was probably predetermined before. But yeah, getting Beck is a big deal. It adds leadership and a skill, a known skill rather than an unknown skill set. I think that the offense is a work in progress. The defense, because it's new faces, new names for the most part. So the offseason is going to be pretty important for Miami. We can't have any big injuries. But I think he's done as well as he could possibly do, and there's still time to get a few more people, maybe another blue chip wide receiver. I keep hearing about some 5-star wide receiver who might be coming here. Who are they talking about? It's not Isaiah. It's not Jeremiah. He's not coming here. Why would he? He's
listen. Let me play devil's advocate. He already, he delivered a championship to Ohio State. Maybe like LeBron James did after he left Miami for Cleveland. Come home and deliver a championship to your hometown team.
Call him up and ask him.
I'd love to. I think Jeremiah's got my number blocked. He's tired of me trying to recruit him to Miami, and he blocked me.
I'm sure. But anyway, look, I wouldn't assume he's coming, but we still need a little more help. And and then we have. I'm very excited about what our defensive guy is going to do. The coordinator. I think he is going to be a big difference maker. And people say, well, it's the players, not the coach. Yeah, it's the players. But look what happened when we had when Golden was here with D'Onofrio. We had athletes on defense, and the scheme was ridiculous. 8-10 yards off the ball, playing soft. That's not how Miami kids. I remember Luke told me once. He says, I don't know what's going on. All these young kids that play when he's coaching the little peewees and the parents, they want him to be jamming the receivers and playing aggressive. Then you get to the high school level, that's what you're doing. And then you go to Miami, you're 10 yards off the ball. These kids don't want to play like that. That's why we knew from the beginning the defense, and it never changed. What did he do in the offseason to look at the film and say, gee, maybe I ought to change it? He did nothing. We were destroying Florida State at home one game, and they came back and beat us because the defense gave up like 30 points in the second half. So I think the coaching staff is very important. And they still need what? They still need a DB coach?
We still need a DB's coach. And on the last episode, we talked about some of the possibilities, like the hot board. We still don't have a DB's coach. Now, for what it's worth, I was reading Kane Sport, and our guy Gary Furman seemed to indicate that getting Doug Belk will be very difficult. I don't know if he's heard something about USC might be ponying up to keep Belk there. Miami would be trying to poach him from USC. So I don't know if that means that maybe he wants to stay there, or they want to give him a raise and maybe a new title to stay there. So, and like I tell people, if any, I would love to have a guy like Nick Monroe down here who already recruits the area very well, and he worked with Heatherman at Minnesota. That would be a guy I would love to have here if he's interested. But we don't have a DB's coach yet. And you guys know if we hire one, when we hire one, it's going to happen at some point. Locked On Canes will be all over it.
Yep. I'm sure you will be all over. You're probably all over it now.
Yeah, trying.
So what's this big announcement? I saw something on Facebook. What are you talking about? Everybody's speculating Jeremiah Smith, but based on nothing.
We're going to have a big announcement coming up. And the announcement will be coming up right after these words. I'm going to keep you in suspense. And along with that big announcement, we'll talk about young players that are standing out in off-season workouts. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin does a fantastic job. I know the season may be over, but the storylines are not, folks. Transfer portal. We're going to be talking a lot of recruiting on this channel and on that channel very soon. Locked On College Football is available free and available wherever you get your podcasts, much like this show. Make sure you check out Locked On College Football. All right, so Bruce, the big announcement is coming from you, my friend, and let me make a couple of guesses. Is it Jeremiah Smith, or maybe Carnell Tate? Because there are rumors that Carnell Tate from Ohio State, another receiver, may hit the transfer portal. Or are you going to become the new DB's coach at the University of Miami? What is this big announcement?
None of the above. That's at D. None of the above. I still have not gotten my MRI results yet. Hard to believe, but true. I'm still in suspense. Don't know. But over the last month, I think, you know what? I watch the show sometimes and I say, damn it, I should be on that show again. So I told Alex, whatever day it was, that I'm coming back. I miss doing the show with him. I didn't sign any multi-year deals for lots and lots and lots of money. I still do this because I want to do it.
I'm gonna try to bind you for 2 years, like Wisconsin with Xavier Lucas.
Okay, I'll sign that, and then I'll have Heitner represent me. No, I'm coming back on the Truth Teller Tuesday. I'm going to be doing it. I owe it to Alex. I love doing the show with him. I kind of feel like a sense of loss. I know I'm still not in a great mental space yet because of what I'm dealing with, but I don't care. I mean, the reaction I got from the listeners and the viewers and the comments just made me feel like, you know something, maybe I didn't realize that I am a good part of this show, that Alex really wants me on this show. The show is really good. I have a big mouth. I say what I want, and some people don't like it. But you know what? I've also decided I don't care. I don't care anymore about that. I don't care what the coaches say, or if you get word that I need to shut up. No, I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll be a little less controversial. I don't know. There's not much happening till the season starts anyway. So, you know, I'll bring some former players on. Again, I asked you guys, who do you want? And I'll try to do my best. You know, I'm working on get Edger and James on here and a few other people. And I'll bring in the former coaches again. I'll always get Donnie Solinger because he's just brilliant.
I love it.
And, you know, and so, yeah, I'm coming back. That's the big announcement.
I love it.
It's not an ego thing. It's just that I miss doing it with Alex. And I'm just going to ignore all the negative chatter and deal with, you know, I'll be 71 in a couple of weeks. I'm not that young anymore, but I still have the mindset to do this, and I enjoy it.
You were
again. Thanks for those compliments. The compliments really,
absolutely.
I could be the biggest jerk in the world, but those compliments really made me feel good. It really did. So I appreciate everybody who said those things. I truly do.
You know, most people love you, myself included, which is, you know, why I desperately wanted the Truth Teller Tuesdays back. And even the people who claim not to love you, they still love when you're on, Bruce. That's the thing. Like you were missed even by those who claimed they don't like what the Truth Teller has to say. So Truth Teller Tuesdays are back. So I don't even know how to follow that up, but I got Bruce. I got to give a credit and a shout out to Gabby Urrutia from InsideTheU.com, Miami's 24/7 page, because he's getting feedback already from off-season workouts, which basically just started within the last couple of weeks. You know, players, new Miami players and returning Miami players arrived for the semester in mid-January, and some of the new players, young players who are generating buzz. Freshman tight end Brock Schott, he says, already one of the most impressive and strongest athletes on the team. I have suspicion that we will see him contribute earlier than some may anticipate. So Brock Schott is on there. Hayden Lowe, which is not surprising because he just shined in those all-star games that he played in, the freshman defensive end, making a smooth transition, Gabby says, to the college level physically. He's an impressive body type who has a day one impact potential. And another true freshman mentioned Malachi Toney as well. He's somebody who has an opportunity to earn an early role for himself this spring if he's able to handle the transition to college smoothly. Yeah, I mean, listen, he may get a lot of reps, Bruce, at slot receiver, and Malachi Toney could get reps as a return guy as well. Miami's return game has been lacking. Let's get this kid on special teams.
Not only that, but we saw him throw the ball in the title game. So here's a kid who can come in and get the ball and fire it down the field. He could do it. You know, there's a lot of things he could do that we can't do with some of the other guys. I mean, Restrepo threw a pass. It almost was a touchdown. Right. Whoever that was didn't catch it.
Elijah Arroyo threw a pass to Cam Ward.
Just it was not a great pass. He could have had it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a lot going on the next couple of weeks. Then spring practice starts, and here we go again. Here we go. And I'm curious to see what they do with Bain. But I think that they've done a lot in the offseason, more than I thought they would do. But the Carson Beck thing is a real big deal. And just got to follow along with him. I'm sure he's going to be at every practice, watching everybody throw and working with them and standing probably behind the offense instead of on the sideline. He might, because he's got to see what's going on. He has to watch the routes that these kids run. So all good. I think it's all good. I'm not predicting anything. No more. No more.
No, come on.
No more. 9-0. I said 12-0, and we were 3/4 of the way there, and then the bottom fell out. But that's because I trusted the defense, and I won't do that anymore. To me, again, as I said a few weeks ago, show me and I'll believe it. Up until then, I don't believe anything. I'll just watch the games and go from there. But, this guy's coming back next week and he doesn't. I don't want to hear that either. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Just watch the games and let's see what happens. We'll definitely go out there for a practice in the spring again.
And you need to come, because I think you missed the spring. You went to some practices with me, but you missed the spring game last year.
Game.
Well, you got to go this year. So it's going to be the same spot as last year, Cobb Stadium. And I thought, but they did a really good job. It was a great atmosphere out there. So they're going to do it. It's going to be on April 12th at 4 p.m. So hopefully we see the truth teller out there. But Bruce, a couple of the other young players that Rudy mentioned as having good workouts so far. You'll be happy to know a couple more defensive linemen. We already mentioned Hayden Lowe, who's a true freshman, and Hayden Lowe's already like in the 260 range. So he's physically mature for a true freshman. But a couple of redshirt freshmen he mentioned, Bruce. Armando Blunt,
of course,
another that some are extremely high on, he said, and redshirt freshman Artavius Jones, the juggernaut, right? Yep. I hope, because that dude's gigantic. So if we can get him ready to go in that interior of the defensive line, we're going to be in good shape.
What about Lightfoot? I mean, what was he, 212 pounds? That's not enough to play DN.
Yeah. He's got to keep adding weight. He's got to.
McConaughey's got to be ahead of him. He's bigger.
Yeah. Well, McConaughey, I thought, was already, it seemed like he was ahead of him last year, and that's just based on kind of some of the practices we saw today. Although Lightfoot had a good spring game last year, but I think what has been keeping him off the field a little bit more, it's probably just his size. He's got to add more weight.
Yeah, he's got to add more weight. But again, as I mentioned, I think the excitement for me, we'll see what our new defensive coordinator does, because it's been lacking. We've had some good defenses in the last 10 or 12 years, but as I've said all along, it's not the way I want to see it. I want to see them to go after the quarterback. Just go after him. I mean, obviously they could be, subjected to screens and things, but that's why the linebackers are there, to get those guys, And I think this guy is going to be a big improvement. Not putting Guidry down, may be a great coach, but that scheme didn't work. It just didn't work. We got burned every game. And any one particular play, they could go 80 yards on a stupid little screen pass or something, or a little 18-yard pass, and somebody takes a bad angle and they're down the field. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Those chunk plays last year were killing us. Yeah. So anyway, I'm back, you guys. I hope you're happy.
The Truth Teller is back, so that means Truth Teller Tuesday is locked in again, starting next week.
And one quick thing, I want to make sure, if you guys want former players, I've said this once or twice in the last couple of years, just put it in your comments who you want, and I'll try to get. I don't know everybody, but I know most of these guys, so let me know.
Well, we should see if you could track down Deion Sanders, since apparently he loves everything Miami.
Listen, if I get through to SAP, I probably get to Deion. But
that's right.
But I don't know if I want to talk to him. I don't care what he says. I just don't. I care about our team. That's what I care about.
Right.
I said I'm trying to get Edger, and we got Clinton. I'll call Clinton, and I'll see if I can get Edge on.
I love it. And we can bring Clinton on again. I like to see he was really good with us.
Good.
Well, we appreciate, of course, the Truth Teller Tuesdays are back. We appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you support the entire Locked On Network. You can also check me out on Locked On ACC. Make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to Locked On Canes on YouTube. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey app, wherever you get your pods. And we'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.